Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 240. And, for anyone who has listened to my past episodes, you know that when I first started speaking, I panicked, especially when I was in Vegas. And so I brought on a master speaker who's going to teach us all the great stuff or all the things that we're supposed to avoid when we're speaking. So welcome, Christoff Weihman, and thanks for being here.
Woohoo! Well, congratulations. First of all, Rob, 244, I think you said.
240,
You
yeah.
you've been at this for a while, and what a pleasure and honor to be here. And yes, I am in Las Vegas. Sunny, most of the time sunny, but not lately these days. Beautiful, wonderful, fabulous Las
Well,
Vegas.
it's funny because where I flubbed my speech was at the very hotel that Elvis Presley sang his songs and performed for the world. And here I was going, oh, don't thank me very much because that was awful. But I had I had a cheat. I had my speech in my pocket, and when I froze, I pulled it out and read off a piece of paper. And everybody thought I planned it. So there you go.
They thought it was a kind of an impromptu, kind of a planned little gimmick, so to speak. Yeah.
But that's the key today. Is um I think yeah, you want to sound like you're planned, and you want to sound prepared, and you want to do the things that everybody tells you to do. And picturing the audience naked doesn't work, because I just stand there going,
Yeah. I
no.
don't know whoever came up with that idea, but people perpetuate it. And it's supposed to make you feel more comfortable. But if you were in a room with a bunch of people in their underwear, would you be comfortable? Would you really be comfortable on stage? I'd say probably not.
No, no. But it was fun. I learned some things. One, I'm not a podium person.
Hmm.
And I think this goes back to when I was in high school and college, is they always tell you to stand behind a podium. I'm like, why? Why do I need to stand behind a podium? Why can't I just pace? Why can't I walk? Why,
Yeah.
and every speaker I see nowadays, they're walking all over the stage, and it's like, okay, it's great. Now I got to follow them. That's what I wanted. Now you got to stand behind a podium, Rob, and tell your speech. And I'm like, no. But yeah, so one of my big things now is when I get up on stage is no podiums.
No podiums.
No podiums.
Ban the podiums.
And I don't like to do slides either.
Yeah.
I like to just stand up there and um, share stories that people can relate to, and that define them, that kind of give their origin story and how they can help people. But I've seen so many so-called gurus stand up on stage with their slide presentation, and I'm thinking, man, you could have just emailed that to me.
Right. And not only that, there is benefit and value if the PowerPoint contributes and supports.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman named Roger Love. He is a very famous voice coach. He works with Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard. I've been through his program, and he says this about PowerPoint, and I love it. He doesn't say you can't ever use it, but you shouldn't be stuck on it. But here's what he says about PowerPoint. I'm the power, and I'll make the point. I'm the power. I'm the person. It's my time on stage. I'm here to share this message. If a PowerPoint contributes because there's some image or there's some bits of information or an acronym or whatever it may be, and that's easy for people to visually take in, okay, great. But you and I, and I'm sure listeners have seen people who have their PowerPoint, they got their clicker, and then what do? They turn their back and let's go ahead and read this. Like you just said, Rob, well, you could have just emailed that to me and I didn't have to show up
Yeah.
because we can all read. And to me, speaking is about engagement. It's about connecting with your audience. And I like to, when I work with speakers, I like to kind of teach and train them or empower them on what I call taking them on an emotional journey, taking the audience on an emotional journey. Does that mean you got to make the audience cry? No, because there's all different types of emotions. That's a bonus. There's a guy who says, "Oh, well, make them cry, make them cry, and they'll buy." But yes and no. You want to connect with them emotionally, but so, for example, we have our event called the Ultimate Speaker Competition, and we have different categories. We have one category called Inspire, and so, not all the time, but often, everybody thinks they're an inspirer. So then they share their story. We give them 6 minutes on stage. And during that 6 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes and 10 seconds, they spend talking about all the tragedy that has happened in their life. When I was 11 years old, I was sent to juvenile detention. And when I was 14, I don't know, I got hit by a car. When I was 18, my dad ran away with the mail lady. And so they're just telling all these dark, terrible, depressing stories. And at the end, maybe the last 30 seconds, and they say, "Oh, praise God, I was able to overcome all of that. And now I'm here to inspire you today." And I go, wow, you didn't inspire us at all. But if you listen to some of the I consider great speakers like Les Brown, Tony Robbins is a pretty darn good speaker. Lisa Nichols, anybody that you admire, people who have been at it for a while and that are well known, in a second, in a moment, they can share a little bit of something that was a tragedy, and you get the audience in that, but then in the next second, but I knew there was so much more. I knew that my life was not based upon where my present circuit. So it's about taking the audience down and then taking them back up again. And like I say, like an emotional journey. And I say this, I when I'm working with speakers, you always have to ask yourself or keep in mind three letters. So write this down: WTF. Now, I know, Rob, you said cursing is allowed on the podcast. I don't say anything out loud because it is not what you think. WTF. We'll get to that in a moment. But there's what is called an emotional set point, the starting point that the audience is at. Now, if you're a speaker and you are at a convention or a conference or a seminar, and you're the 5th or the 7th or the 12th speaker, what's the emotional set point of the audience at that time? It's, 7 hours in to a 9-hour event. Maybe they're bored. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're fed up. Maybe they're waiting for somebody to shake them up. So you've got to be in tune, I believe, with the energy and the emotion of the audience. What's that emotional set point? And then even more importantly is, what's your outcome? Where do you want to take that audience and where do you want them to be at the end? WTF is, what's the feeling? What's the feeling that they are starting with? What's the feeling that you want to leave them with? And as speakers, I see a lot of times speakers, they are focused on getting their content out. I am becoming a not fan of this word content. Content is king. Content is king. No, it's not just the content. It's the delivery of it. Mm-hmm. It's not, the audience has no idea what I'm going to share, right? Even here, as we're talking, you have no idea what I want to share with you. So you're not going to know if I messed up in my mind. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we're in our minds as speakers and we're thinking, I've got to get through these 3 points. I've got to get through these 5 points. But if it's not landing, if it's not engaging, it's not connecting with the audience, don't push through. This is why, to me, it is so important to be continually checking and connecting with the audience. Does this make sense? And some people think, that's hokey, or, when they ask you to raise your hand, how many people here? But what it does, it keeps the audience focused. It keeps now people who are storytellers, if they don't modulate their voice, if they don't use a different tone or tonality or volume or pace or speed or energy or emotion, and they're just, when I was 17 years old, my buddy and we went down to the creek and he had his 1978. It might be a very interesting story, but I'm going to fall asleep if you don't engage me, if you don't even when I did one of my very first speaking gigs, and I've been learning along the way. So I think I would say I'm better now than I was 7-8 years ago when I first started. My first book is called Getting to Wow. It's all about wowing your customers. And my first line, I was at an event, about 300 people. And my first line, I said something to the effect of, how many times in your life have you gone to any place of business and you're the customer and you felt, and I shouted into the microphone and you said, and I can't do it because my wife is asleep in the other room, but I shouted into the microphone the word, wah! And then I said, oh crap, maybe right now you felt that. But so, yeah, maybe that was a little extreme, and had somebody known ahead of time what I was going to do, and if I had a coach, that they might tell me, be careful because the microphone, you don't want to wreck people's ears. But I certainly got their attention, right? What else? I don't want to do a monologue here, Rob.
No, that's great. I was at an event back in November in Atlanta, and they had it in this awesome stadium. And there were some great speakers, and there were some not so great speakers. And by the second day, nobody wanted to be there. It was just,
oh wow,
the energy from the first day to the second day changed so dramatically that half the attendees were gone. They're probably out sightseeing or drinking and I think that's the problem. When we have these events, how do you keep it enlightening to the audience that they want to come back for the second day, that they want to feel empowered, that they're going to learn something? Because if your first two speakers are powerhouses and the rest of them are boring, they're not going to want to come back.
Yeah. And oftentimes they might be marketing the event around that one or two named speakers. And, when it becomes the bigger audience, a lot of times people just are there to watch. They're there to sit and observe, and it becomes a static experience. There has to be something that energizes, that amazes them, that surprises them. And as speakers, I have a new friend, a guy I just met here in Vegas. He's a Frenchman. He's a world champ. I just interviewed him on my streaming show over the weekend. His name is Louis Barr. He's a 7-time world champion dancer. Wow. And he trains dancers. And he's a public speaker, motivational speaker, and he calls himself a speaking choreographer. And so when he works with speakers, he brings this element of performance so that each of his speakers, he says, not a single one of them will ever be the same when they come. Because look, speakers, I'm talking to you now. In my humble opinion, suggestion, when you get up on stage, stop thanking the producer. So many speakers, their first 30 seconds. Here, Rob, go ahead, introduce me. Let's go ahead. Let's role play. Introduce me on the stage, okay? We're at a big convention. I'm one of the next speaker. They've been waiting here to come see me. Go ahead. Introduce Christoff J. Weihman.
The amazing, the spectacular Christoff J. Weihman is here. Come on, take the stage.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so blessed and grateful to be here today and to be able to have the opportunity to to share with your audience about the importance of public speaking and how to engage your audience. And I'm really excited to be able to share with you this information. And I have a PowerPoint slide that is this working? Where do I click this? Right here. So today we're gonna talk about the 5 most effective ways to connect with your audience. And oh my God.
Wow, yeah. Back in,
What does Grant Cardone? Yeah, love him or not? What does Grant Cardone says? Hey, get attention, Hey, you listen to me? You hear me? I mean, that may be a little hokey, but at least people are gonna pay attention. We have to grab their attention. We have to keep their attention. We have to involve them. Write this down. Always tell your audience, invite your audience to write something down. Because it gets them interacting.
Yeah.
How many people understand what I'm saying? Right? It's not look, you're not on the Letterman show. Mm-hmm. There is no Letterman show anymore. You're not on the Tonight Show. You're not doing a monologue. But even the best comedians, they have an interaction with their audience. Mm-hmm. And I see so many speakers that they think it's about this: writing and memorizing a speech. Number 1, a speech is a formal address. So yeah, if you're speaking to Congress, or you're giving your quarterly report to your shareholders, or you're speaking at a celebration or whatever, but even then, I don't think as speakers, let's stop giving speeches. Let's share messages of our inspiration, our story, our expertise, share from our heart, and connect with our audience. Does that make sense? Am I off? Look, internalize, don't memorize. I'm not saying there's this other side of speakers, this other group of speakers. Like, I don't memorize. I don't memorize at all. I just get up there and I wing it. Mm-hmm. You wing it? Well, shame on you. Because you're being disrespectful to your audience. Does your audience only deserve for you to wing it? Oh, no, I just get up there and let the spirit move me. Yeah, but you should be prepared. You should have an idea. Oh, no, give me 45 minutes on stage. Why do you need 45 minutes? Why can't you bring a message of impact in 5 or 10? Oh, it takes me about 28 minutes to get going. Yeah, I know. And then what about the audience? What are they doing while you're getting going? They're getting going too. Like, let's go. Let's get out of here.
I try to chunk my stories down to 5 minutes piece, and then that way, if I only need 5 minutes, I got a story. If I need more, combine the stories.
Yeah. I remember a time I was an MC just a few years ago at an event. This was one of the first virtual hybrid events. So small group of people were in the audience. This was in Atlanta, less than 50 people in the audience. And then there's maybe 100, 200 people online. I don't know. But they had a lot of technical difficulties, a lot of dead time in between. I was the host and the MC. I was not well prepared for all those gaps. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I did something that a speaker and MC should never do, but I did it. And now I learned from it. At one point, I looked at the audience and I said, so what should we talk about? I'm the host. I'm the MC. I told my buddy that, who is an excellent, amazing speaker. And he said, oh, you've got to have stories in your pocket. You've got to, like, he talks about different books that he's read. And he suggests, so for him, for example, he loves the 4 Agreements, right? Mm-hmm. Don Miguel Ruiz. And he memorized the 4 points. And he says, I can talk for 2 minutes on it. I can talk for 10 minutes on it, but it's a little message. And so as a speaker, we have to have things in our toolbox. We have to have not only our own content, but, quotes, books that we've read, examples from real life, so that if you are in that situation, you're not caught. And look, I was it was not one of my best moments on stage, but I was able to experience that, so now I can better empower the speakers that I work with.
And
Right? If I stand here and tell you about the 100 times in a row when I just crushed it and I was amazing, then what are you going to gain from it?
right.
Right? We've got to be able to see both sides. What have you done that's successful and that's worked, and what have you messed up on that you want to help others to prevent them or warn them from making those same mistakes. But
in 2009, right before the pandemic, I was in Colorado, losing my voice here, and during the event, the electric went out throughout this whole convention center. I guess they were working on the road somewhere, and 3 of the speakers stopped speaking because I guess they had them in separate rooms, and so the smaller assembly rooms went into the bigger room so that all the people could be together. And the speaker there goes, okay, well, now I have a bigger audience. I can't see any of you, and you can't see me, and I have no slide presentation now, so we're going to talk. And he just shared stories. And he is the one that everybody remembers. Nobody remembers all the other speakers because they basically gave up when the electric went out because they didn't know what to talk about. They didn't have a slide. They
didn't have no slide to guide them.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, look, in real life, there's times when we connect with people, one-on-one, or maybe you're in the old days when we used to go to networking events, and maybe you're there with a group of 3 or 4 or 5 people. You don't have a PowerPoint. You're sharing, something that is of value to that group.
Well, now
I'm not saying we can't use.
They click phones and they share each other's information. I don't even do that anymore. It's like they'll come up, hey Rob, what do you do? Oh, I build children's play sets out of spent nuclear fuel rods. And they'll just look at me like, what? Are you serious? No, I'm just joking. It's a good icebreaker and it gets to their attention. And then they learn a little bit more about me and they know that I'm sarcastic. So
you're not sarcastic.
No, not
listen, at least 200 and something 40 times people have heard you on. I used to be sarcasm used to be one of my witticism superpowers, but I then spent a dozen years in Asia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And sarcasm is the least welcomed form of repartee or humor. So I have slowly kind of put it's still there once in a while, but it is not my natural instinct now. But I do enjoy watching. I have not read your books, but I do enjoy your posts and your commentary. And me being from customer service, I think we think alike. But I actually there are. Oftentimes I will engage these people. I know this is off our topic, but so what? It's our conversation. Who cares? Tune out now if you want. Change the channel. Listen to another previous episode of Rob's podcast.
They're all equally annoying.
But there are times that I've engaged with some of these people on LinkedIn, and then I read one of your posts, and I go, "Oh crap! Oh wait, I'm going to go back to that guy or girl." Like, hey. And it's so here's something that recently happened to me. I have multiple domains, as you probably do, multiple URLs. I've been an entrepreneur for
3 weeks.
3.5 weeks. I think I'm getting good at it. In that time, I've written 27. No. But there is this company that I'm not going to say their name, but hey, go daddy and figure it out yourself. This company that supports websites, and I've had recently had some of my bank cards compromised. And so, as entrepreneurs, we have many systems and tools that we pay for each month, whether it's your CRM or your LinkedIn or whatever it may be. So there's multiple ones. And when a card gets compromised, then these accounts, they miss a payment, this or that. So one of my websites, the email, this is just about a week or so ago. It doesn't matter because it's still the same story if I said it was 2 weeks ago. I noticed that I didn't receive an email from like Thursday, and now it's Tuesday. Well, what's going on? This is odd, really weird. I didn't get a single email, but then I tested it and sent an email to myself. It came through like, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with my email. I didn't know that you can send yourself a test email and I guess it can come through. So finally I called this company and I wait on hold for 45 minutes and I say, hey, what's going on with my account, my email? And they said, oh, well, you missed a payment. I said, okay, well, that's because my card was compromised and I didn't know that I missed a payment. And so did you guys contact, I didn't get a phone call, I get a text or anything. I said, oh no, guess what they did? They emailed me. They emailed me to the account that was suspended that wasn't receiving emails. And I said, well, how does that doesn't make sense. I said, why wouldn't you send me a text or a phone? I've been with you for 8 or 9 years. I have multiple domains. You know that this is how I run my business. Why wouldn't you text or call me? They said, oh, well, did you sign up for that? I said, I didn't know. Well, then they said, well, you just have to let us know that you want to be texted or called. This is the epitome of where we are at with poor customer service.
And the thing is what you just shared is what everybody's experiencing, and it would make a great speech because they can relate to it. They can feel themselves in that story.
And it's sad.
Yeah, well, it is sad, but in the same respect is that everybody sitting in the audience can say, yeah, I've experienced that same thing. I can relate to that guy. That guy gets me. I'm going to recommend him speak to somebody, at another event and that's how I think great stories happen, because it's not only just our life lessons, it's our experiences, it's dealing with lousy customer service, whether we give them as a speech or put them in a book.
Yeah.
It's those moments that people can cling to, that they'll say, hey, I don't know what else he said, but that story of that customer service really got to me, and I want to recommend him to other places.
Yeah.
And I think that if everybody that's listening understood that deep inside of them, they have at least 10 stories that are equally just as funny or good, or they can go out and be a speaker.
Absolutely.
And people will love it.
And I applaud, I'm giving ideas of what not to do and things like that, but I really do applaud anybody who takes what you just said, who steps out and says, okay, yeah, I think I have something inside of me. I don't have a communications degree. There's no barrier to entry today. You don't have to be a broadcast journalist. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have a certificate. You don't have to have anything. You can have a message inside of you. You may not even know what the exact message is. I'm working with somebody right now, brand new. She said, I just have this feeling the last few months I'm supposed to get out and start speaking. I don't know where to start. But I know I've experienced so much. I want to help other people. How do I begin? And I say this, your message matters. I didn't make up that phrase. Many people say it, but it is so important. And the world, we've all gone through all of this crap in the past few years, where we're shut down, locked down, shut out, told to stand in a corner, told not to do this or that, being stifled, being whatever it may be. And then with all the animosity and choose your tribe to fight against another tribe and group. And the world is filled with so much of that, and it will continue on. The world's looking for people like you to bring humor, to bring hope, to bring stories that can empower and encourage and heal and all of it, right? Being a speaker, I saw on your website, we think alike in some ways. I do equate speakers as like superheroes.
Mhm.
We have a superhero power. We have a superpower, which for each one of us, it's different, but it's to bring something of value and impact to the world. And here's what's interesting that I talk about in one of our trainings, our standard ovation program. In one of the modules, we talk about um, audience engagement techniques. And I liken speakers to superheroes. And I say, think about whoever is your favorite. I have so many. I used to have one, but I love, so, you know, I like Iron Man. I like Captain America. I like, however they got their superpower. And if they're a DC comic hero, that's okay too. However they got their superpower. Some of them were born with it, Superman. Some of them, it happened with like a laboratory experiment gone awry, Hulk, who else? Captain America, Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Or they acquired it, Batman,
Mhm.
and some Iron Man, they just create, but they all have a superpower. One thing that's common about all of them, even though they have it, there's a period of time where they have to learn how to effectively wield it. Think of Spider-Man flying through the air with his web in New York City, and all of a sudden he slams into a building because he doesn't understand what the strength and the velocity and the speed of shooting the web is.
Mhm.
Think of Captain America throwing that vibranium shield,
Shield.
and it bing, 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 bang, and then at one point it boomerangs back, right, and knocks him out because he hasn't developed the skill set yet how to wield that superpower. And so that's what we do, is we help you as speakers take that innate or that message within that superpower and craft it and formulate it and polish it so that you become adept at wielding that superpower that brings those powerful positive things to the world.
Now, one of I think that the prime question that people ask the most is, should I charge or is it pay to play?
I think it's all of it. For me, it's all of it. And I see a lot of speakers that they exclude themselves from opportunities because they say, "Oh, I only speak if I get paid." Well, you just separated yourself from about 75% or 80% of other opportunities. If you have an opportunity to speak for free, even if you've been speaking for a long time, you don't know who's going to be in that room that will then come up and say, "Oh my God, you are so amazing. Thank you for giving your time to this nonprofit or this charity and speaking for free. I want to hire you to come out to my company, my organization." It happens all the time, but you've got to put yourself out there. Pay to play. This is a phrase that irks me, but you tell me, we all pay to play
Mhm.
in one way or another. I was talking to somebody who was a real estate agent and they wanted to get into speaking. And they said, "Oh, well, I don't pay, I don't pay to speak." I said, "What do you do?" "I'm a real estate agent." I said, "Oh, okay. So you just go and you sell houses, right?" "Yeah." "Do you do that for free?" What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you just go and you just sell properties. It doesn't cost you any." "Well, no, I had to get my license first." I said, "They give it to you?" "Well, no, I had to study. I had to get my series this and series that." And I said, "Wait a second. So you're telling me you offered to sell people's houses, but they made you pay to get a license to have an opportunity so that you could then sell something so that you could make money?" It doesn't make sense. We have this mindset of, "Oh, I don't pay." And that's okay. That's okay. But the highest paid speakers in the world, I have a mentor who will pay $50,000 to be in a room with 1,000 people because he'll make $250,000 in one afternoon. If he went there as a keynote speaker, he would probably be given a check for $10,000 or $20,000, right? So, and it's different for everybody, but I do believe that every model for speaking, free, paying for the opportunity, sponsoring the opportunity, creating your own opportunities where you are in charge. You create the event. You've done this. We do this, where nobody's paying me. I'm charging the people. We get sponsors. And then the keynote speaker model, where you are paid a fee, come in, share your message, thank you so much, and goodbye. Don't mingle with our crowd. Because, most of the time, if somebody's a keynote speaker, they're not going to give you the email list of the 2,000 people that were in the room. So the question is, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a check for $10,000? Or would you like to have maybe an opportunity to sell your books, or an opportunity to have 2,000 people on a list that are your perfect client? I say, my buddy Andy Audate says, the opportunity's in the show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot
That's
of
just
people,
my opinion.
no, it's I think that social media made everybody think that everything's free. But just like marketing, we spend money on ads, we spend money on mailers, we spend money on cups with our names on them. We spend money on shirts, and so why can't we spend money on speaking? It's just a marketing tool, but it gets your message out there to more people.
That is a great analogy, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody simply put it like that. But it's so true, right? Nobody balks at paying for marketing. Mm-hmm. Are you paying to play marketing?
Yeah,
it's the concept's already out there. Yeah.
So how do people find you? Where do they go?
They come to Las Vegas.
Except don't stay at the hotel that Elvis was.
Don't stay at the hotel that Rob spoke at with. They can find me simply. My first name is Christoff, Christoff. So put Christoff360.com, 360.com, Christoff360.com, and you will find my website, my contact info, my cell number, my LinkedIn, everything. And you can choose which way you like to connect with me.
There you go. Simple as that. So this was amazing. We discovered a lot of great stuff. And now I know what WTF is. It doesn't stand for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Or Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
That's right. Stands for what's the feeling. And see, this is what makes Christoff an e-hero. He's always willing to share. And so you guys want to learn how to be better speakers, how to get a standing ovation, and maybe learn about the whole speaking blueprint? Go that way. Go to Christoff360.com. So adios, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you, Rob. Woohoo!